down because, as everybody here knows, Black people in Canada have a 400-year-long history. So that's a lot to cover. I am not going to dare try to cover any portion of that. However, I'll tell you what I learned. So the definition of history to begin with is the study of past events, particularly in human affairs. History is the study of change over time, covering all aspects of human society, such as political, social, economic, scientific, technological, medical, cultural, intellectual, and religious. So Black history refers to the stories, experiences, and accomplishments of people of African origin. So Black history did not begin in recent times in Canada, but in ancient times in Africa. People connected by their common African history and ancestry have created Black history here. Enslaved people who came to North America had so much taken from them, including their history. Marcus Garvey said, "A people without knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots." So we are going to change that and learn the history of Black people in Canada. So we're going to look at the amazing history in Canada, 400 years worth of contributions to the fabric of the Canadian experience from the year 1600 up to now. So initially, Black History Month grew out of Negro History Week, and it was founded in 1926 by an African-American historian by the name of Dr. Carter Woodson. And in the 1950s, the Canadian Negro Women's Association introduced the celebration of Black History Month to Toronto. So through the dedicated work of many, the House of Commons recognized February as Black History Month in 1995, following a motion introduced by the first Black Canadian woman elected to Parliament, and that was the Honorable Jean Augustine. Black History Month was officially observed across Canada for the first time in February 1996. So 2021 marked the 25th anniversary of the official national observation of Black History Month in Canada. So only 25 years ago, and Black people have been in Canada for 400 years. So we are gladly stepping up the speed of things these days, like recently with the Black Lives Matter movement in 2020. Black people participated and witnessed global uprisings against widespread anti-Black racism that created conditions that have negatively impacted Black life at large, including violence. Black History Month is more important than ever now, as it provides a learning space to discuss current realities and honor Black people and their accomplishments. The United Nations International Decade for People of African Descent is 2015 to 2024, and it encourages us to promote a greater knowledge of and respect for the diverse heritage, culture, and contributions of people of African descent to the development of societies. I found some interesting statistics in my travels. Recent statistics indicate that in 2016, 3 out of every 100 people in Canada, or about 1.1 million people, identified as Black. And that's up from 600,000 just in 1996. Preston in the Halifax area is the community with the highest percentage of Black people, with 69.4%. And it was a settlement where the Crown provided initially land to Black loyalists after the American Revolutionary War. You might want to keep that in mind for future reference. You know, if you want to store some history in your mind, never know when you might be tested. So according to the 2011 census, 945,665 Black Canadians were counted, making up 2.9% of Canada's population. According to the 2016 census, more than half of the Black immigrants who landed before 1981 were born in Jamaica and Haiti. We have our Jamaican people representing here today. as we have a large Jamaican population in Winnipeg. In the 1950s, the government encouraged women from the Caribbean to come here and work as servants for a year in Canadian homes. It was called the West Indian Domestic Scheme, and many came by choice as immigrants to study or work, while others brought their families, not unlike our Jamaican family here today. Between 1962 and the 80s, more than 370,000 people from Caribbean countries such as Jamaica, Barbados, and Trinidad came to Canada. There are more Black people from this region in Canada now than from any other background. Newcomers now come from about 125 different countries. The top countries of birth for Black immigrants admitted between 2011 and 2016 were Haiti, Nigeria, Jamaica, Cameroon, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Michaëlle Jean, Canada's first Black person to serve as Governor General, in fact, was born in Haiti. So the fastest growing Black population in Canada is in the prairies where we are. So it's more than quadrupled in size in over 20 years, from 39,955 in 1996 to close to 175,000 in 2016. Alberta population of Black people grew fivefold, while Manitoba's Black population almost tripled in size. And the Black population in Saskatchewan more than tripled in that same amount of time. The rapid growth of Black population in the prairies has been driven by immigration, and now mainly from African countries. So I got stuck on recent history, as you can see. I'm trying to watch my timeline here. You can give me a wave anytime if you, hey, come on, get out of here. But there's so much. In looking back at important historical dates, slavery was abolished here in 1834, when thousands of people of African descent from the US, Caribbean, and Africa chose to come to Canada. So in 1834, members of the African Canadian community, along with Indigenous supporters, white supporters, and others, gathered at various locations across Canada on August 1st to celebrate the end of slavery throughout the British colonies, this occasion being known as Emancipation Day. On February 26, 1851, the Anti-Slavery Society of Canada was formed to aid the extinction of slavery all over the world. So just going back a little bit, by early 1860s, there were about 40,000 Black people living in Canada. Of course, many of them came via the Underground Railroad, which made Canada the destination for the largest freedom movement in history. Going back just a little further, a few interesting things, like in 1784, the population of Birchtown, Nova Scotia was 1,500, making it the largest town of free Black people outside of Africa at the time, because Canada had developed a reputation as a safe haven. During the American Revolution, 1775 to 83, the British promised land, freedom, and rights, and free Blacks in exchange for service rendered. Many Black people actively participated in the American Revolutionary War, serving as boatmen, woodsmen, general laborers, musicians, and there was a corps of free Black people called the Black Pioneers. That was interesting, an all-Black corps. Black people fought many of the wars in these years and had Canada's first and only Black battalion, called the No. 2 Construction Battalion. Prior to that, there were many settlements going back into the 1700s, 1600s. The first Black person being thought to have set foot on Canadian soil was Mathieu da Costa. He was free man who was hired by Europeans to act as a translator. So here we are, we've made our way around back to 2022, which is now the most important time in history because we're in the present and we can only make changes going forward now. So we will learn from our past and go forward in love, joy, and learn some history lessons as we go today. I am blessed to be here and most thankful. Happy Black History Month, one and all. Be history. Thanks, Zuike.
Thank you so much, Lori. That was excellent. Thank you very, very much. So again, people, we are here learning about Black history, and that was a great little synopsis of what has brought us to here today. And we want to thank you so much for that. We are going to move forward a little bit. I want to just make sure that you keep a little bit of an eye or an ear open, as there's going to be a little bit of a quiz at some point asking questions to some of these presentations that we have. So make sure that you're interacting. If you need to go back and rewind a little bit and get that information. But also, if you happen to have got our book that we keep promoting every year, the Black Canadian History, there's some great information there that might help you later on with your quiz. So thank you so much, Lori. I'm going to get back to our group here. If that's okay, Rhonda, can we switch back? And we are going to move forward. As we always know, with our culture, we talk a lot about the promotion of our music and the way that we express ourselves, whether it's through gospel music, through R&B, through rock and roll, through reggae, all sorts, classical. We've got a little bit of everything in our culture. So we want to emphasize today on some dance. And we have a great young man that has recently moved to our wonderful city, and we want to welcome him to our midst. We are going to have a little bit of a dance demo, and then we are going to also later on this afternoon have a little bit of a dance instruction, a little class. So make sure you're sticking around. Share, get people involved. We want more people into this day. We have a lot going on. We've got a lot to talk about and a lot to do. So I'm going to give the floor to our friend Kevin, who is going to go and do some dance with us.
Oh, Tamba!
Dance will never die. Out and bad, so badly bad, it a get intensified. I see the kids them in the street, all the big man them a practice the greets. All do a vocal pass and crown, we still a make them do him dance in the bars. Everybody jump to the bongs, willy bongs. Everybody fear to the willy bongs. To the bongs, willy bongs. Everybody fear to vocal bongs. To the bongs, willy bongs. Everybody fear to the willy bongs. To the bongs, willy bongs. Everybody fear, willy willy bongs. Alright, swing your hand them, go on like your man. Then the double the out and bar. Look left, look right, swing your hand like your man. Then the double the out and bar. Do the dip like the dancing car. Then the double the out and bar. Walk with it, make up your face like you get robbed. Then the double the out and bar. Alright, stop, make a pose, take a sip, shake your foot, start to the dip, walk it dip. Everybody 50 out and dip, walk it dip. Everybody fear do the walk it dip, walk it dip. Everybody fear do bogle dip, walk it dip, walk it dip, walk it dip, walk it dip. So where them a say, dance will never die. Out and bad, so badly bad, it a get intensified. I see the kids them in the street, all the big man them a practice the greets. All do a vocal pass and crown, we still a make them do him dance in the bars. Everybody jump to the bongs, willy bongs. Everybody fear to the willy bongs. To the bongs, willy bongs. Everybody fear the vocal bongs.
Young and old people do the dance like it. Me I tell you, how would them a ramp with? Popeye! Alright. Ravers, clavers, yeah. Black blingers, yeah. Timeless, yeah. Sound for six, all dancers, remember. Everybody start take for yourself. Follow the rhythm and take for yourself. Spin with it and take for yourself. And the new dance take for yourself. Cause some of them bad mind, some of them bad mind. Take for yourself, them bad mind. This a one of the prime time, this a the prime time. Take for yourself a prime time. So when you see wicked people, take for yourself. When you see nasty people, take for yourself. From them out of the evil, take for yourself. Stop par with them in a vehicle, take for yourself. And if your best friend a cat, take for yourself. And you know I look flap, take for yourself. Spin with it and you drop, take for yourself. I keep a got it lock like that. What? Everybody start take for yourself. Follow the rhythm and take for yourself. Spin with me and my friend, them not join certain crew.
That was awesome. So yes, thank you, Kevin. We'll see you again soon. We want to say that dance, of course, is a part of our culture and it's a part of our history. And there's a lot of representation when you're talking about dance, whether they're communicating, they're showing emotion, all those different things come through in our dancing. So thank you, Kevin. And we're gonna have a chance to see Kevin again later on this afternoon, and he's gonna do a little bit of a teaching, some instructions on how to do some of those fantastic moves. So if you need to, get up and stretch and get your water, do whatever you need to prepare yourself for this later on this afternoon. And we also have a lot of things going on today, so don't forget, make sure you're following us on Facebook and YouTube. Tell a friend, grab somebody, say, hey, what are you doing this afternoon? Join us, we're having our history lesson. We are here till 2 o'clock. We've got lots of time for you to come on and join us. So thank you for those who are here now. We are gonna move forward and we're going to have a speaker's corner. We have one of our lovely members from our community who has been dedicating her volunteer time all throughout this pandemic and throughout the last few years, many years, I should say, sorry. And she has decided to join us this afternoon. So we are very, very humbly grateful to Miss Diane Dwarka, who is going to be sharing with us. She's going to do a quick speaker's corner about Black history and the importance of books. So Miss Diane, the floor is yours. Welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Nadia. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. I want to really thank you for the opportunity to share some books with those of us who are gathered here together today. You know, today there are many sources where we can get information right at our fingertips. With the technology that we have, we can Google something and within seconds we have an answer. We don't even have to have a computer because most of us have smartphones and it's just at our fingertips. And so we can quickly get information or copy a picture or whatever. But it really feels good to physically hold a book in your hand and to turn the pages as the words sometimes become alive and you can't just put that book down. You got to flip the page, turn that page to see what's coming up next. So today I will take a few minutes to share with you a few titles which I think all of us should read. There's something for everyone. There's something for the adults, something for children. We can't see who's on the screen, but for children. And yes, I even have a book for our pastors. And I don't have physical copies of all the books because I've loaned out my books and have not received them back. So I want to give you a little hint. Whenever you buy a book, make sure you write your name in that book. And secondly, when you loan that book out, keep a list of those books that you loan out and the name of that person that you loan the book to. So I have learned my lesson. Sometimes I don't know who has my book. The first book I'd like to feature today, I didn't do a PowerPoint or going to share screen. I just hold the book up. And it's called The Skin We're In. A Year of Black Resistance and Power, written by Desmond Cole. This book is a bracing, provocative, and perspective-shifting book from one of Canada's most celebrated and uncompromising writers. The Skin We're In can spark a national conversation. It can influence policy and inspire activists. In this 2015 story for Toronto Life magazine, Desmond Cole exposed the racist actions of the Toronto police force. detailing the dozens of times he had been stopped and interrogated under the controversial practice of carding. The story quickly comes to national prominence, shaking the country to its core and catapulting its author into public sphere. Cole used his newfound profile to draw insistent, unyielding attention to the injustices faced by Black Canadians on a daily basis. In this book, he chronicles 1 year, the year 2017, in the struggle against racism in this country. So the book, every chapter is a different month of the year. It starts with January, February, goes down to December, but the last chapter goes to January of the last year to see, just as a follow-up. So Desmond Cole has disrupted a Toronto Police Board meeting and he was arrested. At another police board meeting, he challenged the board and against accusations about the police beating a young man by the name of Dafonte Miller. So he was arrested, and the image of Cole walking out of the meeting, handcuffed and flanked by police officers, fortified the distrust between the city's Black community and its police force. So this book, I hope it will become a vital book in our community. I hope it will be a potent antidote to the all too present complacency of white Canadians. And it is my hope that it will also become a book that will be seen in the schools. The other book is So You Want to Talk About Race. And I don't have my copy because I can't even remember who I loaned it out to. In this book, So You Want to Talk About Race, it's written by Ijo Muoluma. She is in the States, but she writes about the whole problem that readers face: police brutality, cultural appropriation. She has honest conversations about race and about how racism infects every aspect of life. Her house, they threatened to burn her house down. She writes for several newspapers, and so far she lives in fear, but she will continue to write. The third book I want to raise is called Caste. This was on the Oprah Book Club, and it's written by Isabel Wilkinson. But what's interesting about this book is it was one of the best books of the year 2020. And she gives us a masterful portrait of an unseen phenomenon in America, and it's all over the world, but especially in America, as she explores through an immersive, deeply researched narrative and stories about real people, how America today and throughout its history has been shaped by a hidden caste system, a rigid hierarchy of human rankings. Beyond race, class, and other factors, there is a powerful caste system that influences people's life and behavior. And the next book I want to raise is one that I think everybody knows. It's about Viola Desmond. Viola Desmond, this one is called Her Life and Times, and it was written by, co-written by two authors, her sister Wanda Robson and Graham Reynolds, who was Wanda's professor. She went to university very late in life and earned a degree, that is Wanda, but she had to highlight her sister's story. In that book, she challenged racial segregation in Canada. And Wanda, I think many of you met Wanda when she was here in Winnipeg. She was at the museum. And also, one thing that's very special about Viola Desmond is the $10 bill that featured the first woman in Canada, and that was a Black woman, Viola Desmond. On one side is Viola's face, and on the other side is a picture of Canadian Museum for Human Rights here. And there are also children's books that are written about Viola Desmond. So it's a person that we really need to know about if we don't yet know, or to learn more about. And so there are books for adults and for children about Viola Desmond. And I also want to talk about a little book called Skin Like Mine, written by Latasha Perry. It's a very entertaining and creative way to address diversity among young children. So you could keep a note of that, and I will also, I could provide a book list. The last, I want to talk about the little boy from Jamaica, and I'm sure all of you know who that is. The little boy from Jamaica is a real Canadian history story. It was written by Pauline and Devon Clunas, and if there are any children in the audience, I would like to ask you a question. Do you believe that someone just like you could become a history maker? I believe you can. So read the story and discover how Devon, a little boy from Jamaica, became a Canadian history maker. Not only did he become the first Black police chief in Winnipeg, but the first Black police chief in all of Canada. So that proves that anything is possible and dreams can come true. And I said there was a book for our pastors. So now for our pastors, and I know some of you are on the screen, I saw your names and some of your faces. This one is called Reflections on Emancipation and Anti-Black Racism for Canada. It's a collection of reflections by theologians, historians, and pastors from Canada, the United Kingdom, the Caribbean, and the USA. They reflect on the relevance of the celebration of the abolition of slavery for Canada. Unfortunately, many Canadians are not aware of the history of chattel slavery in our country. This book raises awareness about the history of Canadian enslavement and the legacies of slavery in Canada. And I am a United Church person, and I know it's available at the United Church bookstore, or you could contact me and I could tell you how to get a copy. And finally, Ruby Bridges. And the reason why I want to raise Ruby Bridges is because she's 67 years old today. She was born in 1960. At the age of 6, she changed history by becoming the very first African-American child to integrate an all-white elementary school in New Orleans. Ruby Nell Bridges was born as the daughter of sharecroppers. And when she got the right to go to an all-white school, there was a big rebellion. And the first morning when she was going to school, they had to have 4 police officers to accompany her to school. And the 4 police officers came to her home. She got in the car and they drove her to school. And all along the way to the school, you could see all the people there who were demonstrating, and they did not want her to go to that school because it was an all-white school. When they arrived at the school, 2 police rangers came right at the car and said, the sheriff said, the governor said, she cannot enter the school. And the driver, who was a policeman, took his piece of paper off and said, the president of the United States says that she can. And so they had to back off and allow her to go into the school. Unfortunately, when she started school, all the white kids left at the beginning. And they had to, and even a lot of the teachers resigned because they did not want that, that they wanted to keep the segregation. They did not want the integration. But she did all her work, and today she's a role model. She's 67 years old, and I think I'm not 100% sure, but I think I read somewhere that the school that she was refused to enter is now named after her, now carries her name. So we got to remember that. In addition to these, there are quite a few books where we can learn about local things. I know Trinidad and Tobago Society in Winnipeg published a book when they had an anniversary. Jamaica did the same thing. And there's another interesting book that was written by the Caribbean community of Winnipeg, put together. It has profiles of a lot of the people who live in Winnipeg. And this is the book. It's called Caribbean Community Millennium Project. This was done in 2002. And so there's a lot of sources out there where you could find information that you need. So thanks again for this opportunity to present and share with you a little bit of the about books. And I do hope you will find some of those books. They're all available for loan at the libraries. And did you know that if you went to the public library to borrow a book and they don't have the book, especially if it's one like Black History, you could request that book and they will purchase the book. So keep that in mind. You don't have to buy everything you read. It's a lot to borrow out there. Also, the Caribbean community has a library. Jamaica just put another library last year with Mrs. Mavis McLaren's help, and I helped a bit put a library together. So there are different places where you could get books to borrow. Thank you very much again for the opportunity. Looking forward to the rest of the program.
Thank you very, very much. That was wonderful. Kudos to you, Ms. Dwarka. That was excellent. We love having you part of our program this year, and we thank you. We're looking forward to seeing you again during the year. For all of those who don't already know about Black History Manitoba, we also have a traveling book display that we take with us to every event that we have. So a lot of those books that Ms. Dwarka just mentioned is in it. So you can get those books also through Black History Manitoba. If you look on our website, bhmwinnipeg.com, under resources, there are a lot of those books there too. So we'll continue on with our program. And speaking of books, we have a story time. So back in 2019, we realized that because February is also I Love to Read month, we want to encourage people to love to read about Black stories from Black authors and illustrators. And we just want to encourage people to start reading more, also with Black history. So we created a story time, and we have one of our fantastic members who have just kind of taken that project and run with it. Rhonda Thompson is going to join us with a quick story time. So all those young people, they should be out of bed by now. So my numbers should be going up anytime now. If they're not already out of bed, make sure you go get them. And we are going to have a story time. And right after our story time, we're going to go also into a sing-along. So everybody knows Bob Marley is very popular in our world. So everybody will be able to sing along with our friend Kenny and Lori as they do a sing along as well right after our story time.
Everybody, and welcome to our Black History Month story time in conjunction with I Love to Read Month. So my name is Rhonda, and I'm part of the Black History Manitoba Celebration Committee. And today we are reading about Anansi the Spider. Now, is anybody else out there afraid of spiders like I am? I am terrified of them, but this spider is kept well contained in the book, so you don't have to worry. And we are going to just learn a little bit more about Anansi the Spider. So this book starts with a prologue, and it says that this story is from a long-established culture, the Ashanti of West Africa, in the country of Ghana. Ghana is a green stronghold of dense rainforests between the ocean and the desert. This home of the Ashanti people protects their oral traditions. The Ashanti have had a federation of highly organized society for over 400 years. Still, today as long ago, the Ashanti are superb artisans. They excel as makers of fine metalwork and as weavers of beautiful silk fabric. Into this fabric, they weave the rich symbols of their art and folklore: sun, moon, creation, universe, the web of the cosmos, and Anansi the spider. Anansi is a folk hero to the Ashanti. This funny fellow is a rogue, a wise and lovable trickster. He is a shrewd and cunning figure who triumphs over larger foes. As an animal with human qualities, Anansi is a mischief maker. He tumbles into many troubles, and here is one of his adventures. Okay, here we go. Anansi. He is Spider to the Ashanti people. In Ashanti land, people love the story of Kwaku Anansi. Time was, Anansi had 6 sons. First son was called Sea Trouble. He had the gift of seeing trouble a long way off. Second son was Road Builder. Third son was River Drinker. Next son was Game Skinner. Another son was Stone Thrower. And last son was Cushion. He was very soft. And all were good sons of Anansi. One time, Anansi went a long way from home, far from home, and he got lost. He fell into trouble. Uh-oh. Back home was son Sea Trouble. Father is in danger, he cried. He knew it quickly, and he told the other sons. Road Builder's son said, "Follow me." Off he went, making a road. They went fast, those 6 brothers gone to help Anansi. Where is father now? Fish has swallowed him. Anansi is inside fish. Oh. River Drinker took a big drink. No more river. Then Game Skinner helped Father Anansi. He split open the fish. More trouble came right then. It was Falcon took Anansi up in the sky. Quick now, Stone Thrower. The stone hit Falcon and Anansi fell through the sky. Now Cushion ran to help Father. Very soft. Anansi came down. Well, look at these guys just saving the day. They were very happy, that spider family. There they all go. All home again that night, Kwaku Anansi found a thing in the forest. What is this? A great globe of light? Oh, mysterious and beautiful, I shall give this to my son, said Anansi, to the son who rescued me. But which son of 6? Which deserves the prize? Nyame, can you help me? Oh, Nyame, called Anansi. For Ashanti people, Nyame is the god of all things. Anansi asked this of Nyame, please hold this beautiful globe of light until I know which son should have it for his own. See, there he is with the globe of light. And Anansi and the 6 sons. And so they tried to decide which son deserved the prize. They tried, but they could not decide, and they argued all night. And Nyame saw this. The god of all things, he took the beautiful white light up into the sky. keeps it there for all to see. It is still there, and it will always be there. It is there tonight. The end. I really like this book because it tells of our motherland in Africa, and many of us are descendants of people from Ghana. So if you would like to learn more about this folk hero, be sure to look up Anansi the Spider. And thank you. This is all for today. I hope you enjoyed the story, and you can get these books. Hopefully we'll be able to put some links on our website for you to be able to purchase any of these books. Hopefully we'll have them to be sourced locally. So if you find anything that we've been reading and you want to get a copy, please send us an email, bhmwinnipeg@gmail.com, or connect through us through our website, and you can also get us there. Thank you very much for following. Feel free to share. And this has been the story of Anansi the Spider. Bye-bye.
Hey kids, it's February and it's Black History Month, and today I'm going to sing you two songs by Bob Marley. And as you know, February 6th was his birthday, and Bob was the man of love. All he thought about was love, and I'm hoping that his memory lives forever. So if you can, join in and sing along anytime. Oh, yeah, naughty bongo, a dreadlock conqueror. Oh, yeah, naughty bongo, a black man redemption. Whoa, yo, yo, yo. A black man redemption. Whoa, yo, yo, yo. No need to get jumpy. And no need to get bumpy. And no need to get bumpy. No need to get jumpy. You need to cool runnings. Can you dig it? Cool runnings. One more time I take you. Cool runnings. Can you stop it? Cool runnings. Spread out. Spread out. Spread out. Spread out. For black man redemption. Can you dig it? Oh yo. A black man redemption. Can you stop it? Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. Coming from the roots of King David, true to the line of Solomon. His imperial majesty is the power of authority. Spread out. Spread out. Spread out. Spread out. Spread out. Spread out. Oh, you're lucky bongo. No need to get jumpy. And then no need to walk away. Let me tell you about it. Cool runnings. Can you dig it? Cool runnings. One more time I want it. Cool runnings. Cool runnings. Spread out. Spread out. Spread out. Spread out. Spread out. Spread out. The black man redemption. Can you dig it? Oh yo, oh yo, oh yo. rock my boat. 'Cause I don't want my boat to be rocking. Oh, please, don't you rock my boat. No, no. 'Cause I don't want my boat to be rocking. I'm telling you that, oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. I like it like this. So keep it steady like this. And you should know by now. I like it. I like it like this. I like it like this. Ooh, yeah. Satisfy my soul, yeah. Satisfy my soul. Satisfy my soul. Satisfy my soul. Every little action.
Satisfy my soul.
There's a reaction.
Satisfy my soul.
Oh, can't you see what you done for me? I'm happy inside all of the time. Ooh. When we bend a new corner, I feel like sweepstake winner. When I meet you around the corner, you make me feel like a sweepstake winner. Oh, child, can't you see? You must believe me. Oh, darling, darling, I'm calling, calling. Can't you see? Why don't you believe me? Oh, darling, darling, I'm calling, calling. When I meet you around the corner, oh, I say, baby, never let me be a loner. 'Cause when you hold me tight, oops, you make me feel alright. Yes, when you hold me tight, you make me feel alright. Oh, honey, can't you see? Won't you believe me? Oh, darling, darling, I'm calling, calling. Can't you see? Why won't you believe me? Oh, darling, darling, I'm calling, calling. Satisfy my soul. 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 Satisfy my soul.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And like I said, Bob Marley is one of those universal fixtures of love and collaboration and bringing us all together. So thank you so much to Kenny and Lori for bringing us back, getting us warmed up. It's a little cold here in Winnipeg, but we always bring together warmth when we come together to do these things. So thank you very much. I want to take a quick pause to thank all those who contributed to today's events and to our government officials, our community organizers and leaders, and to all of you for being here today. Thank you to the Manitoba government, multicultural and ethnocultural multisec for your funding for this event and for Black History Month events all year round. We are very thankful to the government and the city of Winnipeg for supporting what we do. So thank you very much. We also want to thank this year's sponsors, the TD Bank, Miss Janice Lukes of Waverly West, and Audrey Gordon, and Royal Bank. Those are some of the supporters that we have sponsoring events throughout this February. So we're getting a little close to lunchtime, and I'm sure some of you are feeling a little hungry. I don't know about you, but a part of our culture also is about food. And we have a long history of food and what happens during any feasts, any celebrations, any even funerals and weddings. There's a good history of food that we love to share with everyone because it's an important part of us as a community and as a culture. So I think we have a video that we are going to share. Maybe. Yes, no, maybe. Keep going. Yes. Ackee and saltfish.
Today we're doing ackee and saltfish, accompanied by fried dumpling. When my nan used to make it for us all the time. So this is one of my personal favorites, and I'm sure that you guys will absolutely love it. Easy, accessible, anyone can do it. Comment, subscribe, and like, and make sure you share to your friends and your family as well. Let's get cooking.
Doesn't that look delicious? My beating heart. Oh, the food is so delicious. So that is the national dish of Jamaica. So if you need more information, you can look that video up on YouTube. But speaking of food and videos, we are very privileged this year to have a fantastic chef join us. His name is Chef Rob Thomas. And on Thursday evening, we are going to welcome him. He is doing a virtual cooking class with us. So check out our website, bhmwinnipeg.com. I just lost it for a second. bhmwinnipeg.com. We have the link there for our virtual cooking class with Chef Rob on Thursday evening at 7 p.m. So join us. Mark your calendars, get your pots and pans ready to go. It's going to be very virtual interactive, and we are so happy to have him joining us. So thank you again for that video. Next up, we have another video that's ready to go because we are going to continue on our little theme of food. So if we want to play that next one, go ahead. Oh, my bad. We're going to save that one. Sorry, we're going to save that one until after the second half. So when we're going to take a break, and have a quick, we'll say like 10 minutes. We give 10 minutes, grab something to munch on for the second half, grab some water, get a little stretch going on. But before you leave, we're gonna put 2 videos up. One was a request from our Madam President, who again sends her regrets that she's not able to join us today. But she, one of these songs that really touch and moves her is Redemption Song. So we want to thank very much to Miss Rochelle for singing it for us today. And also we want to thank Nate from Mac Photography for creating our slideshow. So we're going to do that. And then right after that, one of our sponsors, TD Bank, has sent a quick message. So they're going to send that. We're going to play that for you as well. And then we're going to take a little intermission. Our slideshow will play during our intermission. And then we'll be back in about 5-10 minutes, okay?
Old pirates, yes, they rob I. Sold I to the merchant ships. Minutes after they took I from the bottomless pit. But my hand was made strong by the hand of the Almighty. We forward in this generation triumphantly. Won't you help to sing these songs of freedom? 'Cause all I ever had, redemption songs, redemption songs. Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Have no fear for atomic energy, 'cause none of them can stop at the time. How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? Some say it's just a part of it. We've got to fulfill the book. Won't you help to sing these songs of freedom? 'Cause all I ever had, redemption songs, redemption songs, redemption songs. Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Have no fear for atomic energy, 'cause none of them can stop the time. How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? Some say it's just a part of it. We've got to fulfill the book. Won't you help to sing these songs of freedom? 'Cause all I ever have, redemption songs. All I ever have, redemption songs. These songs of freedom, songs of freedom.
Hi, I'm Wab Kinew.
Thank you again for Rochelle to do that for us. We really appreciate it. That was a very powerful look at some of our civil rights movement history. Martin Luther King was in there, Rosa Parks was in them, Malcolm X. So thank you again also to Mac Photography for creating that slideshow for us. We appreciate it. I think I'm gonna go back a little bit. We had a fantastic talk about the Canadian timeline, and Lori did some really in-depth presentation about some Canadian history. So I think we've been so patient and so wonderful this morning that I'm gonna give some stuff away. So I've got a few things. I have some Black History Month pens, and I've got some books, and I have some fantastic t-shirts that I'm gonna talk about a little bit later. So if my lovely assistant, we're gonna go and do a quick quiz. Is everybody okay with that? We're gonna get a little interactive here. So we gotta put up, I know you have little access to our little reactions. So if everybody's down for a quiz, you gotta go to your reaction and put your hands up. Like so. We're good? I think we're good. There we go. Got a few. Oh, there we go. See, awesome. Perfect. See, I know that you're listening now. All right, so hands back down. So this is, I'm gonna hopefully, we're gonna do this really, we love technology. All right, so I think I'm going to be reading out.
If you'd like, I could do it.
Oh, hello, Rhonda.
Hi. Good morning, everyone.
So we're gonna work together here, and I'm gonna give the floor to Rhonda, and we're gonna do this quick quiz to see how much our wonderful folks this morning were listening.
Yes, so this is a precursor because we do have some more Black history information coming this afternoon, but we thought it would be fun for us to just kind of loosen up the brain a little bit. And this quiz here is actually on the Canadian Encyclopedia website, and it is based on questions that are on the actual citizenship test taken by newcomers on the path to citizenship here in Canada. So I will just preface this, that this is the easy quiz. So I mean, I hope we'll do pretty good, but I think collectively we should be able to go through this. So what I'll ask everybody to do is, if you want to unmute, if you know the answer, and we'll just kind of get a general consensus as we go. There's 10 questions. And so let's begin. So here we go. You can follow along on the screen. Question number 1. What was the name of Canada's first and only all-Black battalion? Oh, I already see a hand raised. Yeah, Nadia, are we just going to take them as we go? Should we let
hand raised first? So go ahead, Andre.
Yeah. Okay, unmute yourself.
No, that'd be unfair for me to answer. I'll leave it for someone else.
Thought so. So if anybody, yeah, I can't see the chat as we're going, so it'd probably be best if you're not too shy to just unmute. And I mean, this is a safe space, so don't feel bad if you guess and it's the wrong answer.
Hello.
Yes.
Not a answer.
Oh, somebody had an answer. Go ahead.
Sorry, number 2 construction battalion.
Awesome.
Let's see. Correct. Awesome. That's a point for us. Okay, let's go on, group. Next question. Jackie Robinson played on this Canadian baseball team before making his historic debut with the Brooklyn Dodgers in 1947. I'll give you a moment. Andre, put your hand out. Andre would definitely be the best person to take with you on a Black History trivia night.
I already have, I called dibs.
Me too.
We should be playing in
Anybody-
teams.
Yeah, we should have gone in teams. Does anybody want to just unmute and take a guess? Does any of them look, if you're thinking, think maybe proximity to New York. So that eliminates one of them. Anybody?
Oh, I think Rochelle's got an answer.
Rochelle, unmute yourself.
Dylan.
Okay, hi Dylan. What's your guess?
I'm gonna guess it was the Ottawa Champions.
Okay, do you want us to survey says?
Final answer?
Oh no, it's not my final answer. This is a guess.
Anybody else?
I think that's what we're gonna get.
Promise to have a slave.
Vancouver Canadians.
I hear, yeah, so we got Ottawa, we got Toronto, we got Vancouver.
I think
So,
the first province to have a slave.
Oh,
Is it Toronto Blue Jays?
yeah, okay, well, we're gonna try Toronto Blue Jays because we got more than one guess there. Let's see, survey says. Oh,
Montreal.
Royals.
Olivier
Oh, we
Lejeune
learned
was the
something,
first
right?
slave in Canada.
There you go.
See? Awesome, thanks, Andre. Next question. The Black Loyalists that established themselves in Atlantic Canada were involved in which conflicts?
Oh.
Just anybody want to just throw out a guess?
Revolutionary War.
The American Revolutionary War? Okay. Is everybody okay? Let's try that one.
Yay! Good job, Andy.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay.
I guess that one.
There you
You
go.
did good.
That's a point. Okay. What was the name of the route used by slaves in the American South to escape to Canada?
The Underground Railroad.
There you go. Anybody else?
Yeah.
I concur.
we got 2 votes there. 2 votes?
Yep.
Okay. Survey says correct. That one was pretty easy, I think. Okay, in 1967, 10 Torontonians, all with a common West Indian heritage, found what popular cultural festival? I see Robin's got her hand up.
Caravana.
Caravana.
Yeah. Let's see. Dun, 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 dun. And just so you know, all those other festivals are actual things, but Caravana is the one that we were looking at. And here, for those of us that have been in Winnipeg for a while, we know that we used to have a Caribbean festival as well, and that was called
Caribbean.
Winnipeg. Yeah. Awesome. Next question. The experiences of fugitive slave Reverend Josiah Henson, who escaped to Canada in 1830, were the subject of what famous novel? So we were talking about books earlier. What
Uncle
famous
Tom's
novel?
Cabin.
Uncle Tom's Cabin?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Survey says correct.
Yeah.
Awesome, kudos. Next one. In 1947, and we heard this, so I hope somebody was paying attention. In 1946, Nova Scotian businesswoman Viola Desmond challenged racial segregation by, and this is multiple choice, let's see, A, drinking from the whites only water fountain in New Glasgow, B, refusing to sit at the back of the New Glasgow public
Sit
bus,
at the back of the bus.
C, refusing to move from the whites only counter in a New Glasgow cafe, or D, refusing to leave the whites only section of a movie theater in New Glasgow.
D.
D,
D. Yeah.
survey says Da-da-da, correct. We're doing pretty good. We're really good here. Okay, question number 8. Mikhail Jean, the first Black person to serve as Governor General, was born in this country.
Haiti.
Haiti.
Oh,
Haiti.
yeah, I didn't even have to
Faster.
go to this. That was quick. Survey says correct. Okay, moving right along. Question number 9. In 2010, the mayor of Halifax apologized for the destruction of what historic Black community in the 1960s?
Africville.
Well,
Africville.
Africville?
Yep.
Yeah.
Survey says
Africville.
correct. Does anybody recognize any of the other names on that list?
No.
Does anybody know where Hogan's Alley is?
Hogan's Alley's in Vancouver.
That's right. What
Yeah, they
about
destroyed that
Dresden?
for a viaduct.
There you go.
Amherstburg. Amherstburg is also in Nova Scotia, isn't it?
Amherstburg is in southern
Ontario.
Ontario, just south of
Ontario.
Okay, with the
Yeah.
museum, yeah.
Yes, and actually they have a museum there, and they're very
Museum.
active on their Instagram.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
believe it's Amherstburg Freedom or Aberg Freedom, but check them out on Instagram. They have really great programming there at their.
We had
museum.
They were part of our research challenge last year.
Yes, really great over there. Okay, so we're on question 9. Let's go to the last question. Survey says, this is a tough one. So, I mean, take out your textbooks. What month is Black History Month in Canada?
Baby.
All of the above.
Did you hear what Nadia's answer was? She said
No.
all of the above.
All 12.
All 12,
supposed
I
to
agree. I
It's
agree.
That's what it
supposed to
should be.
That's what it should be.
Yeah.
But let's consider
December,
February.
because that's when Black Santa comes along.
Yeah. What's that?
December, because that's when Black Santa Claus comes.
There you go. And actually, I believe in the UK, they celebrate Black History Month in October, if I'm
yeah.
not mistaken. So, I mean, if we got everywhere in the world to celebrate in a different month, then we would truly
We
be
have it all covered.
We'd have it all covered. There you go. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the quiz.
Oh, what was
That
the
is-
answer?
You gotta click on
Oh, sorry, I didn't even click the answer. Sorry, I figured it was a given. There you go. So we scored 9 out of 10. I think we did pretty good. That means that you guys have been joining us year after year and you're learning. So I hope you're sharing some of the information that you're learning on these events. And thank you very much for joining the quiz. We are going to break for about, I'd say 10 minutes, Nadia?
Yeah, that's it. I don't know if we need that much of a break. Let's go for about 5 minutes. We'll come back at 12:30. Yeah,
Sure.
we'll come back at 12:30.
Okay. All right, just get up and stretch for a little bit and we'll be right back with you.
Thanks. All right, everyone, we are back. Thank you again for joining us today. Oh, we've lost some people. I'm sure they'll come back shortly. Hope everybody got a little bit of a stretch going. We're good to go. So our second half, we have, again, some fantastic presentations. We got some more music, got some more dance. So I hope you guys all warmed up during that little break there. So we are going to start our second half with a quick commercial from TD Bank, one of our sponsors for this year. So we want to thank them, and they wanted to share a little message from them. Or not. Do we have the TD promo? All right, we'll come back to it. We'll do it after Andre speaks. So Andre Shepard has been just a fantastic addition to our group. We met him, it's been, I guess, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. He came through and had a wall of Blacks in the military. And that's how he caught our attention, traveling around with this 7-foot wall with all these different stories and information about Blacks in the military. And he has just been such an exceptional help. If you didn't catch him on the Manitoba Museum virtual field trips, you still have an opportunity to do so. So we are going to give the floor to Andre Shepard, who is going to do a presentation this afternoon. So Andre, are you there?
I'm back.
You're back? You're all ready to go?
Okay, let's see.
Okay.
Uh-oh. There, can you see it now?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, so to get started, I'll try not to take up too much of your time. This is one of my favorite topics, so I do tend to run on when I'm talking about the military. So for those that don't know me, Andre Shepard, I did 36 years in the Royal Canadian Navy before I retired, and I ended up in Winnipeg, and this seems to be my retirement city because I'm kind of stuck. I guess from brain freeze due to the cold. So I'm going to try and give a brief history on Canadian Blacks in the military. Now this will cover probably just over 300 years of history. So now with Canadians in the military, even though Blacks wanted to serve in the military, for years they were not allowed. And there were so many different reasons given for that. My favorite reason that I read about was Blacks were not allowed to join Scottish regiments because they didn't look good in kilts, which I can understand because there's some pretty ugly legs out there, and not including mine. I think I have pretty good legs for a kilt. Then the other ones was that for the Navy, Blacks weren't allowed to join the Navy because they didn't think it was safe for them on board ship because the white counterparts didn't want them there. And then the Army, they weren't allowed to join the Army because they didn't the whites didn't want to be side by side with Blacks in the Army. So just going back to the first Black man to receive the Victoria Cross, and that was William Hall from Truro, Nova Scotia. Now, William Hall back in the 1800s, Canada really didn't have a Navy. So he ended up joining the British Navy, and with the British Navy, he sailed to many different ports. And then during the Indian Rebellion, he was instrumental in saving a number of his crew, and that's including the officers. And that's how he received the Victoria Cross. William Hall ended up retiring back in Truro, Nova Scotia, and that's where his monument is. to his legacy. So then we skipped to the Colored Corps, and the Colored Corps was after the Revolutionary War. Blacks come to Canada because the British had promised them land for fighting with the British. So they ended up with the Loyalists coming up to Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, PEI, Quebec, and Southern Ontario. So the Colored Corps was formed in Southern Ontario. Richard Pierpoint, who fought during the Revolutionary War, ended up coming to Canada a free man. Later on, joined the Colored Corps with the British again to continue fighting the war for the British. Number 2 Construction Battalion. This is another Truro story. Number 2 Construction Battalion, during the First World War, blacks were not allowed to join the army, and they weren't allowed to join the army because they were black. Even though they kept pushing to join and kept pushing to join, they still weren't allowed to join. And then in 1916, I believe it was when they were first allowed to join. When they joined, there was a number of blacks from Canada. They also had black soldiers come up from the United States, and they had 42 come up from the Caribbean to join with the number 2 Construction Battalion. The unfortunate thing was they weren't given rifles or bullets to go to war. They were only given pickaxes and shovels. They did their training in Truro, Nova Scotia. One of the first things they did as a battalion was go to New Brunswick, pull up the rail lines, and they took them across to Europe with them so they could build rail lines. They built bridges. They repaired runways. But that was their role in the war, was construction, because they didn't see them as real men and being able to fight in the war. Now, this summer, in the July of 2022, there's a formal apology being made from the Prime Minister and the Minister of National Defense in Truro, Nova Scotia, to the dependents and family of the number 2 Construction Battalion for the way that the men were treated during the war and the way they were treated when they got back from the war. So that's July 2022 in Truro, Nova Scotia. So this is just some more information on number 2 Construction Battalion. If anyone is looking for any information about the formal apology, they can always get a hold of Nadia, who can get a hold of me, and I can forward on the information. So Percy Haynes, who most of us know, my surprise when I got to Winnipeg here in 1996, I was surprised to find out that the first black man to join the Royal Canadian Navy joined here in Winnipeg, and that was Percy Haynes. I found that out when I was at the Naval Reserve Unit Chippewa, getting ready to do a Black History Month presentation. And the guys in the museum said, hey, why don't you do it on Percy Haynes? And that's when I got all his information and was able to set up a display and do a presentation. Percy Haynes from British Guyana ended up, him and his friends went to the recruiting center at Chippewa. They could join, he was not allowed to join. Did a letter writing campaign and was able to join the Navy. He joined as a shipwright, even though he was a musician. He joined as a shipwright and then retired some 29 years later as a petty officer. So, just so you know, there were women in the military. They were allowed in later on, as in Marlene Kleik was able to join the Army Reserve and serve in the Army Reserve for a number of years. Like she said, we made under $100. I think it was $65 a month to be in the reserves. And then we switched to another one of my heroes, Raymond Lawrence. Raymond Lawrence from Nova Scotia was the first Black senior chief on a Canadian warship. Now, there's been a number of them go on after him. A couple of them were my cousins, but Raymond Lawrence, unfortunately, just passed away last month, but he was the first Black senior chief. George Atwell, Another story that I kind of find out when I moved to Winnipeg, George Atwell was the first Black lieutenant commander in the Royal Canadian Navy. When I moved here in 1996, we still did not have a Black lieutenant commander in the Navy. And then I kind of find out that, yes, we did. And it was George Atwell here in Winnipeg. Another one of those stories that just doesn't get out there. And then Lieutenant Commander Paul Smith later was in later years was the first Black commanding officer of a Canadian warship, and he was it was a minor war vessel out of Halifax, Nova Scotia, and he immigrated to Canada and was the first Black commanding officer. Perry Cawley, Halifax, Nova Scotia. Perry Cawley was the first Black senior chief of a naval reserve unit, which, and again, you know, we had Blacks in the military for so many years, but it's taken right up until I think it was about 2012 that he became the coxswain of a naval reserve unit. And then we have some other pictures, just pictures of, you know, people that have served their country. The one up in the left corner, Victoria Rifles. Now, the thing about the Victoria Rifles was Blacks immigrated to Victoria and other parts of British Columbia with an invitation. The BC government sent out an invitation to free Blacks in California, inviting them to come to Canada. So they had about 800 Blacks immigrated up to Victoria. And after coming to Victoria, they had land on Vancouver Island, Salt Spring Island. They were allowed to be a part of the government. They're allowed to form their own militia. Unlike the rest of Canada, BC was a lot more accommodating to Blacks that came up to their country. So that's about it for my presentation. I just wanted to make it short and quick. If you have any questions, by all means, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Andre. Of course. So I will leave the floor open. If anybody has any questions, by all means, you can just put it in the chat, or you can go ahead and unmute yourself. Andre is here to answer those questions. We continue to encourage people to talk about Black history within your classrooms and in your schools and with your kids and your grandkids. Andre is such a fountain of information that every time he speaks, we are encouraged to continue to learn and to try to see if we can, I don't know if we can like bottle you or somehow get all that information from within your head out to the public. So we are privileged to have Andre do the virtual tours that we have. So thank you for doing that. Dr. Archer, you go ahead with your question.
Yes, wonderful presentation, Andre. As usual, as Nadia says, I fully agree. A fountain of information, and I'm sure the time we see you presenting is a small fraction of the time you spend researching. So my question was, is this information available in one place, or typical like Black history, it's spread all over the place? And that was a question. And the suggestion part, have you ever thought, Andre, of putting this together in some kind of book?
You're right. It is. It's not in one place. It's a number of different places that you have to research to find out this information, especially the information about Blacks in the military. Have I thought about putting in a book? I don't have the time. That's a great idea, but I have so many presentations done up that I pulled so much information. But yeah, I just don't have the time for that. I've already retired a couple times, and when I retire again from this current job, I'll stay retired. Maybe then I'll have the time.
Sounds good. Thank you. Well done.
Thank you very much for the question. Does anybody else have any questions for Andre before we move forward? We're good. But you can always find, like he said, you can always find Andre out and about. He is very involved, and if you need more information, just send an email to bhmwinnipeg@gmail.com. So we'll move forward. I think we have our presentation from TD ready to go, and that's going to come up. And just after that, we have a wonderful connection with our Indigenous brothers and sisters, and we thank them for continuing to support us. We want to thank Mr. Wab Kinew, who has taken the opportunity to send us a presentation on the fur trade. So we are going to watch that presentation up next.
Black History Month, a time to remember, recognize, and reflect. While we'll celebrate, we also heard the call from communities and within to do more. More than just talk about inequity and injustice, but to add our efforts to the Black excellence all around us. At TD, we support people and opportunities that help inspire, amplify, and elevate Black communities. We are committed to do more than talk the talk.
Hi, I'm Wab Kinew, and I'm here to share a very special Black History Month message about the fur trade. Now, many of us are probably familiar with the fur trade. It's the first big economic boom after contact between Indigenous people and non-Indigenous people in this part of North America. But did you know that there were many, many very important Black people involved in the fur trade, including many Black fur traders? Now, the historic documents and records show the activity of many of these Black fur traders, but the specific records and histories actually preserve some very, very inspiring stories that I'll share with you today about some specific individuals, as well as one very, very prominent family of Black fur traders. Now, it's important for us to also acknowledge that many of these Black folks involved in the fur trade were coming from different circumstances. Many of these people were enjoying the same freedoms that are the right of every human being, and so they were here just living their life and pursuing opportunity and pursuing their interests. However, it's also important for us to acknowledge that many of these Black fur traders were also enslaved people. And slavery, as we know, very unjust, a crime against humanity, a genocidal act, but also was used throughout colonies of the English and the French to build wealth in a very unjust way. And as a result, when those colonies, or those colonial governments rather, established a presence in this part of the world, unfortunately, they brought that very unjust practice with them. And so some of the Black fur traders that we know about were enslaved people. So I think it's very important that we acknowledge the many different conditions that folks were living in as they participated in this. But it's also important for us to acknowledge the tremendous contributions that many of these people made. Now, we had Black fur traders involved in every aspect of the fur trade. Some of them were just, carrying the furs or just paddling the canoe or acting as the cooks. However, some of these folks were also statespeople. Some of these folks were signing treaties with the Indigenous people in this part of the world. Some of these folks were negotiating and interpreting and playing a very, very important function in bringing together the different nations which participated in the fur trade. And so you would find many Black fur traders not only spoke English and French, but they also spoke Anishinaabe-Moen and Cree and the Kanien'kehá:ka languages as well, Indigenous languages, just to summarize. So I want to dive into a few of the specific examples. Now, one of the earliest Black fur traders that we know about is a person named Glasgow Crawford, who worked for the Hudson's Bay Company. Now, the records indicate that he was active with HBC from about 1818 to 1821. And now this may not surprise you, but it is important to note that he did encounter racism on the job. And the HBC records actually indicate that he had conflicts in the workplace as a result of that sort of discrimination that he came up against. However, it's also important to note that Glasgow was very, very well respected for his linguistic abilities. Fluent in French, fluent in English, fluent in many of the Iroquoian languages, those Kanien'kehá:ka languages. And it should be no surprise why. Because though he was active in the Athabasca region, what we would now call Alberta, Saskatchewan, some of that territory there, he actually married an Ongwe woman, who we would also maybe refer to as a Mohawk person. And he settled with her in Kahnawake, which today Kahnawake is located on the south shores of Montreal. Kahnawake has been there since time immemorial, but now we know it in relation to that very prominent city in Canada. So Glasgow Crawford, very important black fur trader. We also, from the historic records, know of Joseph Lewis. Now, he worked in the fur trade in the western part of what they called Rupert's Land at the time. Now, Rupert's Land, of course, is everything from where we are now to further north, northern Manitoba, stretching into some of the territories as well. And Joseph Lewis is credited with historians as likely being the first black person on record in the territory that we now call Saskatchewan and Alberta. And of course, he would have been passing through Manitoba as well. Now, I want to highlight one family in particular whose contributions to the fur trade are just immense. And this is the Bonga family. And really, we could almost talk about them as being sort of like a dynasty in the fur trade, if you will. Now, their origins in North America start with one of the patriarchs in their family, who was a Pierre Bonga, who was born, a black man, born in what is now called Michigan, some 250, 260 years ago. It was in the mid to late 1700s. Now, his parents, Jean and Marie-Jeanne Bonga, were brought there by one of the local captains, British captains, who was working at one of the forts there at what is now called Michilimackinac, but we might also refer to in the Ojibwe language as Michilimackinac. Now, those parents were brought to that territory as enslaved people. Their freedom was later recognized, importantly, and so they were able to raise their son, Pierre Bonga, in the way that they saw fit. Now, Pierre and his brother went on to become important fur traders. We know more about Pierre because of the historic records that have been preserved. Now, Pierre was active in the Red River region. Born in what we'd now call Michigan, but he did a lot of his work right here in the territory that we now call Manitoba, in the region we now know as Winnipeg. Now, he was active with the Northwest Company, and he traveled with many of the important travelers of the day. You'll note that I did not say explorer, rather the travelers of the day like Alexander, Henry, and others. Now, Pierre, predominantly he spoke French, but he was also very, very fluent at a high level in Anishinaabe-Mowen, which is the Anishinaabe language, the language that I grew up with. And he regularly acted as a translator. Pierre married an Anishinaabe woman, and they had several children, two of whom became well-known fur traders in their own right. I'm talking about Stephen and George Bonga. And so this is why I was saying a bit of a dynasty going on here. So they became fur traders like their father. They were educated out east in Montreal, and then Stephen came back to work for the Northwest Company. George came back to work for the American Fur Company. Now, they were both active in, again, the Red River region, Minnesota, Wisconsin, some of that southern Great Lakes basin, and were very, very well respected. Stephen, for his part, joined Donald Mackenzie and John Rowan's 1822 travels to the Bow River, so going to that territory that we now know as Calgary. He is one of the first recorded black people to have traveled to that region, along with Joseph Lewis and Glasgow Crawford, who we touched upon earlier there. Now, Stephen was himself a very fluent Anishinaabe-Moen speaker of the Ojibwe language, and he served not only as a translator, but he was also a signatory to the 1837 treaty at St. Peter's, which is near present-day Minneapolis, Minnesota. Finally, when the fur trade started to dwindle, Stephen settled in the Fond du Lac region, so that's further north, along the St. Louis River, and he found other ways to make a living. Now, while Stephen was doing his thing, his brother George was also a very successful fur trader. Not only was he active in that sort of economic activity, but he was, like his brother, a statesman as well. He was an intermediary with the local indigenous people and the non-indigenous people who were moving into the region, and he acted as a translator for the governor of Michigan when they negotiated a treaty with the Anishinaabe people. His name, George Bonga's name, actually appears on that 1867 treaty. So a statesman. Finally, George eventually married an Anishinaabe woman, and they settled in Leech Lake, a community that still goes by the same name today. They ran a lodge there, they raised a family. Now, what's really interesting to me about George Bonga's experience is that not only do we hear about him from what the historians call accounts of his life, meaning we hear about his life story secondhand, but we actually, with George Bonga, we know about his life story from his own words. And I think we can appreciate how important that is and why. And so George left many correspondence behind, many letters, and it's through that we have heard about his life directly in his own words. And I should note that many of those letters that he wrote, he actually wrote on behalf of the local Anishinaabe people. So he would have been writing to advocate against, say, an unscrupulous Indian agent to the American government, or perhaps advocating on behalf of some of those Anishinaabe people to get a fairer shake from some of the authorities of the day. So these letters of George Bonga, these correspondence, are very, very valuable insofar as that they're also very rare when it comes to the black fur traders in our shared history. So I'm very, very happy to share this note, to send a message that black history actually has a very, very long history in this part of the world, one that stretches back centuries, 200-300 years into time. And of course, not only does this history give us an insight into the black experience in this part of the world, but it also gives us some insight as to what it must have been like for those folks to act as intermediaries in the relationships that were emerging between non-Indigenous and Indigenous people in this part of North America. So to me, a very, very interesting, very, very inspiring addition to what we're all learning and celebrating this month when it comes to February, Black History Month in Manitoba.
That was awesome. So thank you so much to Mr. Wab Kinew. We appreciate his insight and his direction on that part of our history. So we appreciate that very, very much. We're going to get into another presentation from Ms. Beatrice Watson in a moment. We want to make sure that we are able to share that information that is actually in our school teaching when they talk about the fur trade. We encourage you to, again, with your young people and your students, to talk about the different parts of Black history that is not in our school curriculum. So thank you again for that presentation on the fur trade. I'm going to give the floor to our other special guest who's going to be presenting today. Beatrice Watson has been doing lots for her community for many, many years. She is an advocate and a public speaker. She's worked with all different ages and communities, and we appreciate her taking her time today to join us. I'm hoping that she is there, and we can't see her yet.
Yes.
There she is. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. I am going to give the floor to you and take it away.
Thank you very much, Nadia, and thanks you for the Black History Month Committee for giving me this opportunity to share some insights about Black history in Manitoba. Mavis asked me to keep it closer to home, so I'll be talking about some of the historic people that I know of in this city. And you know, as we all know, history is written, as they say, by the victors. And so a lot of the things that good things that people do, sometimes it's overlooked because maybe they're not have any prominent qualifications or whatever. So, but it takes, as many of us know, who were extras in the movie recently, that without the extra, the movie will fall flat. It cannot be as dynamic and powerful as it is. So to make a community work, we have to have all kinds of skill set, all kinds of people. And I would like to present to you this evening a historic woman who was a woman of action, who was proud to work in this community and to contribute, and she has contributed as much as possible to the, especially the Congress of Black Women, and also to the Jamaican community and the community at large, I would say. She's a woman named Kathy Huggins. She died a few years ago. Now, anybody who knows Kathy and know the Congress of Black Women would actually say that she was the face during her a long period of the Congress. She worked hard for that organization. She got invited to be a member. And from what she told me personally, like, to her, it was a lottery ticket. She saw this invitation to become part of the Congress of Black Women as a feather in her cap, an honorable position, because she looked up to the members of the Congress of Black Women. These were accomplished women, doctors, teachers, and all kinds of professional people, and wanting her to be part of that, Kathy felt very blessed and privileged. And she worked as an ordinary member, coming on the board, and eventually she became the president. And she, at the time I knew her, she did not drive, but when anything for the Congress, she had tickets to sell. She would get on the bus and she would go to the legislature and she would knock on every door there, and she sold tickets to these government officials. Then she will go to the city of Winnipeg and sold tickets to the mayor. Now, many people do not show up there, but they can't resist Kathy. She had a charming personality. She just got them to get the ticket. And then when they show up there, she would welcome them. And she was just a very nice person and loved to support her Black community. She saw herself, whenever you see Kathy downtown or anywhere, no matter what it is, no matter what time, she would be so well dressed. She would have her lipstick and her signature high heel shoes. I don't know how she walked in those shoes, but the woman carried herself very well. I call her a fashionista. She's always like she's dressing to go to some party whenever you see her. So she felt that whatever she was doing, she's projecting this image, and that's who she is too. She was a seamstress, I think. She wanted to represent Blacks and represent them well. And so, you know, Kathy, for the Congress of Black Women, I worked with her because she would always call and ask me to give her rides and so on. So she would single-handedly organize socials at the Lodge Hall, do all the work, sell all the tickets, get people there just to raise money for the Congress of Black Women. She was also a very proud Jamaican. She came from Jamaica to London, and through London, she and her husband and her 2 children came to Winnipeg. And she loved Winnipeg. She worked as a nurse, and even as a nurse, she was she just gave of herself. She's someone we can be proud of because she gave a lot to the community and helped it grow. And I'm sure many of the politicians who are still there, if you ask them about Kathy, they know Kathy. She was a very good representative, great public relation. And that's one. I also want, I call her a woman of action. She's the extra in the movie. She's this carrier of despair. Without her and that contribution, the work couldn't be done as effectively as it was. Then we have action, that's an action. Then we have Harambee Housing Corporation. That's one thing that I am personally very proud of. Every time I pass it and see the name Harambee, it means, it's a Swahili word, means pulling together. And that was the brainchild, as far as I know. I mean, there's not a lot of history on that. I tried to do some research. I had to call Joan Skeen, who has been a manager there for 27 years. And from what she told me, this was like a brainchild of Dr. Ralph James. He was the husband of Dr. June James, who I'm sure everybody knows. She has received every accolade there is to have in Canada. Like, you can't miss her. And I know her history is secured, whether I tell it to you or not, because nobody would be able to escape what she did. But Harambee Housing Co-op was started by her husband and other community members, a group of Black people, men and women. And unfortunately, he died while the project was still coming up. And Dr. June James took over the project and saw it to the end. This is a beautiful building. They built it after they did a research in the 1980s and saw that there were a lot of Black people coming from the Caribbean and other places, and housing was a big problem. So through government assistance, they created this Harambee Housing Co-op to meet the needs of affordable housing for their people. This housing, if anybody's gone there, I've been there many times because I had a cousin living there. So I've seen the place. It's a beautiful place in a beautiful area, 45 Galen Street, right across from University Crescent. I don't know if that was designed so that the Black people there would see, hey, the university is right over there, aim to go to university, but it's right there. It's like a little island. If you go in that place, it's kept immaculate. Like Joan Skeen is the manager. She's a woman from Jamaica who has been a manager for 27 years. She has done a great job. That place is a beautiful place. Right now, at this moment, it's a 54 built apartments or townhouses. And at first, there were not so many Black people in that place, but right now, it is the majority of the people are from Africa, and according to Joan, it's like a community, like they know each other. They're like, one person might come and just take all the kids to school. They're supporting each other, just as the people who created this envisage Harambee pulling together. Now tell me when my time is up. But yeah, so this is something that is standing there and it's still there. And that is where you look, you listen to the people, and then you act. And we having said that, this is a building, the younger generation now, I would just slip this in. We need now housing to house older people, like when people get old. When you're getting older and you want a place, we need a culturally sensitive place for people. So if you can try to make that happen as soon as possible, that would be great. So that's something we could do too. Now, the next person I wanted to, and if I don't have time, let me know, but I want to also mention another woman who has just recently passed away, and her name was Dr. Beryl May Jones. Now, I know Beryl for a long time, because I worked for the Immigrant Women's Association for a long time, and she was the founding president of that organization. Immigrant Women's Association, and she was also a founding member of the Congress of Black Women. Through her connection, these two organizations, EWOM and Congress, they work together on lots of projects. Through Beryl's work and the Immigrant Women's Association, they have helped hundreds of immigrant women in Manitoba to settle and integrate as smoothly as possible. And they can boast that through their work, there's a program called the CBLT program, Community-Based Language Program. Now, when refugee women were coming to this country, the government used to say, women didn't need English training. They are at home looking after the children. And these women wrote paper, and Beryl was very good at that. She was an academic, she was a bright person, and she's a woman of action. She would do a lot of the groundwork, do the head work to write these papers out and take it to the government department. And they proved to the government that although these women are at home, they're looking after children. And if their children, something wrong with their children and they got a phone, the 911, how are they going to speak to these people? That's a health risk right away. So through the advocacy of this organization, of which Beryl was an integral part of, they were able to get English training for women who stayed home with their children. And they had it in a culturally sensitive environment where the women took their children while they were learning. Their children were in the next room being taken care of. Those women also, through that, they developed a counseling program for women who are experiencing family violence. And so that program is still available, it's still there because it's still relevant. It is a culturally sensitive program that that people are getting counseling in their own language and in an environment that they can feel comfortable. So, and there's so much more. Beryl went back to school in London, did her PhD in multicultural education. You can look for her dissertation and read it. This is great contribution, and very proud to know both of these women. And I'm very proud to also pass, every time I pass Harambee House, I said, that is a building that we built. And this, one of the best, is not run down, it's kept up. And it is something, if you don't know much about it, go in and look at the place and tell other Black folks if they're looking. I always tell them, you know, it's a long waiting list because it's a prized place. People want to get there. So share that information. And people like Kathy Huggins, we always need them in our community. Those are the salts of the community work. And so, yeah, that's it for me. Did I have more time? Or?
That was perfect.
Okay, all right.
Thank you so much. And speaking of salt of the community, you yourself has just been such a great influence to us, and the hard work that you do does not go unnoticed. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you for the work you guys do. And that those are a history in the making as we speak.
Yeah, thank you.
You guys are making history every day.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much. And so for just a quick touch, the Congress of Black Women are always around, always looking for members. They're doing very great work in the community. So if you have the opportunity, look Congress of Black Women up. They would be very interested to have some lovely ladies join their realm. And also Harambee, you can look them up and get more information on them if you Google that. We'll have information on both those organizations on bhmwinnipeg.com. So we're going to move forward. Thank you again, Ms. Watson. And I think we have some fun video coming up. I told you, I've warned you guys already that we're going to be doing some dancing. So I hope you're prepared. That's coming up right after our video on the African headdress, the gele.
Some people, they may envy you, follow you on Insta just to pre you. The way they go chat rubbish, the way they go spoil your name behind you. You buy one thing, they go on buy two.
The very first thing you do is find the back of the gele and make sure you're turning from the front to the back.
Follow you on Insta just to pre you.
Once you finish turning the tips, you then place it on the head. So you'll be using your index finger and your thumb to tie this gele, and those two fingers are the two most important fingers. Firstly, you're going to hold it with your thumb, like try and hold it tight. Then going in with those two index fingers at the same time, start pulling in material from the back forward. And each time you pull it forward, you hold it with your thumb. As you're doing this, try to drag it and make it as tight as you can. This is very tricky, but if you get it right, it makes all the difference. Now that I have 5 plates, I'm going to ask her to hold it on one side while I go ahead and extend the plates on the other side, line after line.
And God bless you, they don't want to celebrate you. When you tell them good news, they know one day happy for you. Only God knows what kind of bitterness.
Again, I'm going to ask her to hold it while I extend the plates on the other side.
That you're hitting on my ass like crazy. That you're hitting on my ass like crazy.
At this point, I'm going to ask her to hold it again, so she'll be holding both sides. As you can see, our 5 plates are visible. That's what you want. Now, following the pleats, I'm going to drag the shorter side up. While also following the pleats, I'm going to cross the longer side underneath the shorter side to drag it all the way to the other side. I know I'm saying a lot of sides, but I hope you guys get what I'm trying to say. So you ask her to hold the shorter side because you need that side real tight while you try to form more pleats with the longer side.
It's a very, very big lie. I say it's a lie. I say it's a lie. You know if you do, I'm a lie.
Putting your hand inside the material, we're going to go through the whole process again of forming pleats. So, but this time around, one finger, your index finger, is holding it on one side, and then the rest of your fingers are trying to form it from inside the material. Again, slowly, I'm going to try and extend the pleats. I know it gets more difficult at this time because this is where most people actually start losing pleats. Me myself, today I still lose pleats sometimes, but I try as hard as I can to follow each line. It gets easier, I guess, the more you do it.
Some people, them envy you, follow you on Insta just to pre you. The way that go chat rubbish.
At this point again, you need her to hold it by the side real tight, and this is probably the most important time for her to hold it because you're about to tie it at the back, and if it's not held tight, then everything you've just done is going to scatter. Seriously speaking, they need to hold it real tight. Then as you can see, we're holding it all from the short side. Then from that longer side that went all the way through the front, you're going to start gathering it, just leaving a little bit at the tips because you want it to form a round shape.
You cannot steal my joy. You cannot kill my joy. Steal my joy. You never ever.
Then you tie it real tight. Then after you tie it, now the form part actually begins. Like, this is my favorite part, it's the easiest part. I'm going to start folding. Basically, you just try to focus in the middle. Fold it as neatly as you can. As you can see here, I'm just trying to form lines in the middle, like using my fingers. I push the material in and then grab it with my thumb to form the folds.
You cannot steal my joy. And God bless you. They don't want to celebrate you.
When there is no more room to fold, you just drag everything forward basically so that it goes with the pleats you've already previously formed. Again, this part is important. Before you extend your pleats, you have to use one hand to hold it in the middle, because if you don't hold it tight here, then everything is going to scatter. So while holding it, I'm going to try extending each line of the pleats. I'm going to basically use my finger, push it from the back, and then use my thumb to line it all the way down, making it go from center to the side. I'm just trying to follow the lines that were already formed in the middle. So I'm just dragging it from each line in the middle to the left or to the right.
The way that go chat rubbish, the way that go spoil your name behind you. You buy one thing, they go on buy two. Always making sure that they're better than you. But as you they do me, go do you. You cannot steal my joy.
As you can see, one side is already looking nice, and now we're going to move over to the other side.
You know if you do, I say it's a lie. I say it's a lie. It's a very, very big lie. I say it's a lie. I say it's a lie. Oh no, I got none. Oh no, I'm a shell. Oh no, I'm a shell. Oh yeah. Oh no, I'm a shell. Oh no, I'm a shell. Oh no, I'm a shell.
You just try and make it look as nice as you can. So after you've done that, then the gele is done. I'm going to retie the second knot at the back again, but before you do that, you can choose if you want it to be a covered gele or an open one. Some people want to cover their hair, so you pull this material all the way down, then tie it or pin it in, or if you want to open it, just fold it. So this is what it's going to look like when you're done. Hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. I hope you learned one or two things. Don't forget to subscribe, thumbs up, and share this video, and I will see you all in my next video.
You cannot steal my joy. I say so.
Big up sisters and brothers. You don't know, I'm a part of Black History Month. I'm part of T-West. I'm an entertainer. I'm a singer, I'm an artist, and I'm an engineer, and I'm here residing in Canada from Jamaica. So I come to tell you about Dinky Mini, which is a dance that was taken from Africa by the Maroons, where they reside in Jamaica. So the dance is fun, the dance is nice, I love to dance, I love to have fun, and it's Black History Month. Couldn't be a better time, though.
Sorry about that. So yes, Kevin is 100% ready to go. He is all set. I think we are going to go live to him, and he is going to teach us some dance moves. So if you want to get up and get some little bit of space going, we are going to have our lesson for today.
I know the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. And He may have me to lie down in green grass.
Listen, I just want to say greetings to one and all. Lovely to have me here on this special Black History Month. So we're just going to demonstrate some dance moves, where it's coming from, and the love that we have for music. So I'm going to have Laurel join me while I teach you some steps. And if you feel comfortable, get up and join me and catch the steps. Come on. So this is Dinky Mini, and Dinky Mini is fun and creative and just bringing new steps and style. So the first move is the galop. 5, 6, 7, 8. yellow, 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 that's it, yellow, yellow. Five, 6, 7, 8, care pass now. The next move is care pass. This is the care pass step. We're doing it very slow. Step, step, step. This is the care pass. Care pass. Care pass. Ready? 5, 6, 7, 8. Care pass. Care pass. Care pass. Care pass. 5, 6, 7, 8. The next move is gonna be the dog. 5. So the dog is go, right foot forward, right foot back, right foot forward, right foot going back. You got that? So now we're gonna speed it up a little, okay? 5, 6, 7, 8. That's it. 1. Hey! Step, step, step. Now we're gonna go to the next step. This, you just start freestyle with it. You just keep your knees together. Up, up. So we're gonna go for 8. Let's keep your knees together. 1. 5, 6, 7, 8. The next move is the spin. 5, 6, so you can spin for 8, and then you broke to the left. 5, 6, 7, 8, and broke. So we're going to go to the right and to the left. The spin. 5, 6, 7, 8. Go. 5, 6, 7, 8, and broke. 5, 6, 7, 8, and broke. This is the broken now. Broken. Broke. Extra. So I'm going to do those steps. I'm going to perform them for you. Then I break them down and show you. Next time. Thank you so much.
Break them down, Kevin.
Next time. So now I'm going to perform the moves for you now. I'll show you the basics. So now I'm going to do this. Hey!
Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I know that looked like a workout and a half, so I can understand Lori getting her water on. Thank you guys so much, and you can look for Kevin on social media. They have a dance team that they got. When the weather gets nicer, I'm sure they will be back at it. We'll put his information also in the chat. So if you want more information, how to get involved in those dance classes, you can contact Kevin directly. So thank you guys both for that. We have one more, so we're coming down. We've got a few more items left on the program today. I hope you're having fun. I hope you're enjoying it. We are going to go into another story time from our president of Black History Manitoba, Miss Mavis McLaren.
Of logic, reaching a deeper level of
We're having some technical difficulties with this video. I'm going to get Rhonda to stop it for 1 second. Yeah, that's not going to work because we can hear that background noise. So if we can't solve that problem, oh, the wonderful world of technology, not a problem. I just want to, I'm going to jump a little bit ahead, and I wanted to just touch quickly on the fact that we have some great schools that we have been privileged to connect with over the last couple years, because we are doing a lot of virtual teaching and a lot of virtual presentations. Two of those schools that I was able to go to this year have been just so fantastic in sharing what they have done for Black History Month, and I just wanted to share that with the group here today. So I was privileged to speak at the River East Transcona School Division. I had approximately, I think we had about 300 kids join me on a Zoom call, and it was just so much fun. We talk about the pandemic so much, and we forget to realize that there are some real wonderful positive things that came out of this pandemic. And one of those things is the ability to touch and to talk to so many more people, because we are able to do some virtual planning and some virtual events. So we were able to connect with, I'd say, if and Andre can back me, over 3,000 kids last year. And this year, I think we are on the right path to catch up with about a few more that, am I right, Andre?
We have 16 presentations that we have set up, and we're looking at connecting to over 3,500 so far and climbing.
So yeah, so this is a great opportunity. If your children or your grandchildren, cousins, whomever, are in school and they're looking for some information on doing presentations in February for Black History Month, or throughout the year, if the subject comes up, we are available 365 days. We are not only doing our presentations in February, we're available at all times. That's the same too for our story times and our live reads. When we're able to get back in person, we will continue to do that and come out to schools as they are needed. So I'd like to thank all of those members of the Black History Month, or Black History Manitoba committee who is with us today. If you just want to give a quick wave, say hello to you guys and say thank you for all that you've done and all the presentations that we've done so far. So it's a work. It's not just, it's not a one-man show. There's a lot of people that make all of this possible. So thank you to you all. And in the background is our lovely Miss Rhonda. I'm wondering if that video, if we're going to be able to do that, or are we going to move on? Still sounding the same. No, unfortunately, that's not going to work today. So we will move forward. If I'm going to go forward, I don't know. I know I saw Karen earlier. So I'm not sure if our tech team's going to, I need them to move forward. So either we have, Karen can do her presentation now, or we can do the Porter presentation. If somebody can let me know what we're going to do next.
You can shift over here.
Hi, Karen.
Hello. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good, good. Very good. Good.
Awesome. I am just waiting for our tech team to let me know what's happening because I'm not hearing from them.
Okay, no problem.
So give me a couple minutes.
Sure.
If I can share my screen, I'm going to see if that works, because then we can move to Karen. Sorry, guys, give me 2 minutes to see if this works. I think we are good to go. And Karen, I think you are up, my dear.
Okay, great. Nadia, are you able to put that into slide view from the very beginning? Yeah, from the first slide. There we go. Excellent. Okay, Nadia, you can hear me well still, right?
I can hear you well.
Okay, good. So thank you so much, Nadia and the team, for the invite for this Black History Month 2020. I have to say this is one of my favorite events as well, and just glad to be here to present with you today on the International Decade for People of African Descent. I am Karen Chester, of course. I've helped out in different ways with Black History Month in the past, so glad to be helping out this way. With me today, we also have Shirai Chester. She is a French immersion student, and she has also been one of the readers for Storytime in the past as well. So glad that she's here to help with that. So you can see that on this very first slide, we're talking about the International Decade for People of African Descent. And on the next slide, what you'll see is that this is the decade, as Lori mentioned earlier in this program, 2015 to 2024. It was in 2013 that the UN, actually the General Assembly, adopted a resolution to proclaim this particular decade for people of African descent. And the theme being people of African descent, recognition, justice, and development. So we're actually 8 years into this particular decade. If you think about for a moment, what does African descent really mean? And really, if you, however you might identify yourself, you might say, I'm a Black Canadian, maybe I'm Trini to the bone. You might say, oh, I'm a Guyanese. You might say, oh, I'm Ethiopian. Whatever the case may be, I'm African Nova Scotian as they identify it there. So it varies. The whole idea is that these are people who descended from the continent, wherever they may be living around the world. Canada, the Caribbean, you know, the West Indies, as some will call it. It doesn't matter at all. But that's the common thing that we share, is that African descendants, regardless of however we identify ourselves. So that's really important. Some may even say, you know what, I'm a Francophone Canadian, right? Black Canadian, so that's fine. This slide here, we have the statement of truth. Our significant presence and contributions on this land predate the country of Canada by over 150 years. Indeed, up until 1961, over half of all Black people in Canada were Indigenous to Canada. Indigenous settlers to Canada includes your ancestors. Learn of that. Our sweat, skills, experiences, and contributions taken and used without consent and for free, built and shaped early Canada. Learn of that. For example, we have here Harry Jerome, from Western Canada, has undoubtedly pushed and carved Canada into the powerful promise that it is today. Learn of that. People of African descent are resilient, brave, spiritual, and master builders who have been central to the campaign for equity and an equitable Canada. The new goal is African Canadian truth-telling starting today. Learn of that. And the next slide.
Notre présence au Canada et nos contributions importantes à notre patrie pressent la formation du pays de plus que 150 ans. En fait, jusqu'à 1161. Plus de la moitié des Noirs vivant au Canada y étaient nés. Les pionniers du Canada incluent notre ancêtre. Sachez-le. Pour bâtir le Canada et le façonner, on a profité de nous en utilisant notre labeur, nos compétences, notre expérience et notre apport sans nous rémunérer. Sachez-le. Par exemple, Viola Desmond a sans aucun doute collaboré au renforcement de la structure du Canada, très prometteur aujourd'hui. Sachez-le. Les personnes des centres africains qui sont résilientes, braves, spirituelles et constructives ont joué un rôle crucial dans la campagne prônant l'égalité et l'équité au Canada. Notre nouveau but raconte l'histoire véridique des Afro-Canadiens dès maintenant. Sachez-le.
So we chose to put those to this statement of truth because many are aware of course, the land acknowledgements that are used, but this particular statement of truth, the English and French, it's growing in usage at both the not only international, but the national, regional, and local levels as we see the backdrop of the decade for acknowledging and recognizing and celebrating the contributions of all of us Black people from all over the world. This quote here, if you want to go fast, it's a favorite, go alone. And if you want to go far, you go together. So again, the whole idea of the UN, United Nations actually recognizing this, the High Commissioner has said, this is really a unique platform for people of African descent to be celebrated in this way. So the whole idea of going together, no matter how we identify ourselves, we can go farther than if we just want to go fast and go alone. There are 3 pillars in this decade. You can see on this logo that is there: recognition, justice, and development. The first pillar, recognition, is to promote a greater knowledge of and respect for the diverse heritage, the culture, and contribution of people of African descent to the development of societies. The next pillar, number 2, development. So to strengthen national, regional, international action and cooperation in relation to the full enjoyment of economic, social, cultural, civil, and political rights by people of African descent, and their full and equal participation in all aspects of society. The third pillar, which is justice, to adopt and strengthen national, regional, and international legal frameworks in accordance with the Durban Declaration and Program of Action and the International Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination, and to ensure their full and effective implementation. So you've seen these three on the previous slide, being the justice piece. And with all of these specific ones, they've been a variety of initiatives happening at various levels. We know that, for example, in 2018, the Government of Canada, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau officially recognized the decade in Canada. In 2019, there were 30 Black organizations that met in Ottawa to discuss with the Government of Canada priorities for Black people. The Caribbean African Canadian organization had submitted a concept paper, and I've been sending many of you information on that because that's a growing project in terms of the Canadian Institute for People of African Descent. And I'm sure you've seen a lot of the various funding and proposals and call for proposals for local development right in our area, our province, and then nationally and regionally as well. So there's a lot of pieces going on, just like today's history lesson as an example. So I leave you with this last quote here. It's a Guyanese proverb that says here, slow fire boil hard cow heel, right? So the whole idea of that is persevering, right, to make accomplishments. And what kind of accomplishments as we celebrate this decade? It could be the smallest accomplishment, right? Because everything still matters and can make a difference. Things won't just happen overnight. It takes time. Progress is slow, but it's ongoing. But it's really a chance, as we're in this particular window of highlighting people of African descent, to not only have the allyship and not only have the various levels of recognition, but kind of turn the mirror to ourselves as people of African descent, as Black people, and to see what we as ourselves individually and collectively can do to strengthen ourselves and to strengthen our own community as the light is shone on us that way. Because everyone matters. It doesn't matter where someone is in our community, gender, social status, education, it doesn't matter. Everyone's contribution can make a difference and have great influence. And the next slide will show you the resource list, the last one. And I put that in there with a list of events. You can see on the list what we're looking at is the United Nations. We have as well the Canadian Institute for People of African Descent. Yeah, if you could put the last one up, some may be interested in further looking at that. We have the UND PAD Push Coalition. And of course, there was the National Black Canadian Summit 2022 in Halifax, Nova Scotia. That's been postponed a number of times. But again, you will hear much about the International Decade for People of African Descent. So yeah, feel free to search that up if you want more information. So great event, continue on. I've been listening in to what's been going on, and have a great afternoon, everyone.
Thank you so much, Karen. And I'm going to ask you to do me one quick favor. Since we didn't get to see that last slide, would you just type a couple of those into the chat so that we will know where to find that information? And that would be perfect, so that we can still share those resources and find you for any information that we need. Thank you both for your presentation. We appreciate that. And I know your lovely daughter has been doing some wonderful work as well in her school. So thank you, Shari. Thank you both so much. So as we are coming down, we have a couple more things that we have on the program, and I'm going to see if we're going to be able to do anything. I am looking to see what we can still get on here. We're having some issues in the background here, but we will survive. We are a people of many means, and we will figure this out very soon. Give me 2 minutes to get back in here. Talk amongst yourselves. Does anybody have anything to share? I can't. It looks like our main host has crashed. Okay. So I'm going to give her a couple minutes, and as she's doing that, so we are almost finished our month, but we have some great and exciting things still to come this week. So I'm going to encourage you all to go to bhmwinnipeg.com to check out the events that are happening for the remainder of the month. So as I mentioned earlier, on Thursday, we are going to be doing our cooking class with Chef Rob. That'll be a Zoom event. So you can register or grab the Zoom link on our email website, or if you're part of our email list, you'll get that information shortly. That'll come out probably tomorrow. You'll get a mass email from us giving you that information there. And our young people are getting together again this year to do our youth debate and research challenge. I always do a great plug for this event because it is so important for us to support our young people. And they create this event, they pick the topic, they pick their teams, they do all of the research and have a wonderful debate that they they're very independent on getting that organized. So next Saturday afternoon, we are going to do that presentation. Again, it's another Zoom event. We start at 11 o'clock and we combine the research challenge and the youth debate so that we have a little bit of education and a whole lot of fun when we do our youth debate, research challenge, because it's an interactive way for you to join together and learn about some people, places, and things that are not as popular in our history as we would like. So I encourage you to do that as well, to get involved in that project. And again, all of our events are on our website. For this evening, I would like to encourage you all, if you haven't heard about it, if you didn't see our presentation, last week we had our Porter presentation. We had some of the cast and crew come about and have a great conversation with our host, Angela Cassie. And this evening is the premiere of The Porter, filmed right here in our hometown of Winnipeg, Manitoba. And that will be on CBC and CBC Gem this evening at 9 p.m. and that's coast to coast. So we encourage you you'll see some really familiar faces and you'll see some places that you've seen before that look fairly familiar. So please have this evening, if you're able to PVR it, however you're gonna do it, watch The Porter this evening on CBC. I'm gonna just quickly check and see what's going on. Pardon me? Hi, Gerard. I can see you, John, and I can see that you're unmuted. So did you want to tell me something? maybe not. Oh, if you're talking to me, I can't hear you. Still can't hear you. This is fun. All right. So I'm going to be coming down shortly. I have not, thank you very, very much to all of your time and all your patience that you had with us this afternoon. Thank you to all the presenters and all of the performers, to Kevin and to Diana and Miss Petrus, to Rochelle and to Rhonda, Lori and Kenny. Thank you guys so much for participating today. Andre, always fantastic. So thank you very, very much. I look forward to seeing you guys in person at some point this year, crossing my fingers. But we had such a wonderful time this afternoon. I appreciate everyone taking the time to spend with you. I'm gonna give me 1 minute. I'm trying to, it's very hard for me to be reading messages and still talk at the same time. We do have, so we had the Derailed video from MyZeum. It's out of Toronto. They had a great presentation and we're talking about the Porter. We do have that video quickly if we want to do that before we end off this afternoon. So I'm going to turn it back over and we're going to do a quick little peek at Derailed from MyZeum in Toronto. If you guys could start that over with some volume, that would be great.
Out. I still have my name tag too. I have piles of papers and photos going all the way back. I was smart enough to keep everything. Knew that I needed to keep everything to make my own history book. Every letter I drafted and received, kept it. Receipts, as the youth say. That day in Ottawa in 1954 was a collective effort towards the long and hard turn Canada needed to make. It's all good and fine to be the first. I was the first Black man to run for a seat in the Ontario Legislature for the NDP. I was the first Black Canadian to work for the Ontario Ministry of Labour. I was appointed by Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau as a citizenship court judge, which makes that the first time that a Black person has held that title. All these firsts can distract from the collective effort. We don't want just one to rise to the top, to be the exception. That's what some of these young people are showing us. I'm watching it all, watching and smiling. Young people, boy. Believe it or not, I like to take the bus to get around. Sit back and have someone take me somewhere. And all those faces I see shows me the change we're fighting for. Doesn't mean the work stops, it never stops. Brings to mind Minister Kafik. He was a good guy. Used his voice to remind those in the federal government that multiculturalism didn't begin in 1971. Its roots go deeper. I saw this city transform in a way I could never imagine. Born right here in Toronto, November 18, 1918, and died November 12, 2016. Look at that. I stepped into life in the month of November and left 98 years later. Not sure what that means, but I know God put me here for a purpose, and I did my best. I think I did all right.
So again, that is a presentation that we've had earlier this month. I think it might even been last month from MyZeum, and they are an organization out of Toronto that has a lot of different clips on YouTube regarding the porters. So again, from the Montreal standpoint, Ottawa, Winnipeg, they've got a whole lineup of different aspects and different portions of the porter. So that's a different showcase rather than what's happening this evening. So this evening's film is the motion miniseries that has been waiting in anticipation for it to come out, and that will be this evening at 9 p.m. again across Canada on CBC and CBC Gem. So again, I want to thank everybody, and a big hand to those in the background that are trying to help us and that have done such an excellent job this afternoon. Thank you so much for your hard work. I know it's not easy. Technology is not always our friend, but if you would like to celebrate with us for the remainder of the month and the year, just make sure you reach out to Black History Manitoba through email, through our social media, through our website. Any way you need to get a hold of us, you can. I am going to leave you. We promised to be done for 2 o'clock, and I am 4 minutes over. So I'm going to close this afternoon and say thank you, be safe, be warm, and we will see you again. We want to get all these, we want to get as much viewership as possible for this evening, the Porter. It is a great opportunity for us as a community and us as a people. So I encourage you to watch the premiere tonight and the series in its whole. We can get this, what I think it was 3.2 million viewers was the record for one of the Canadian premieres. So we can beat that. So if you get out there, tell all your people, friends everywhere across Canada to join us this evening to watch The Porter. And thank you, everybody. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Bye. You guys can, you can unmute yourself. I can't hear you. I see you dancing. I can't hear what you're doing.
Big up.
Oh, you're gonna have to do one or the other. I think you're getting feedback.
Yeah, I did that. That was my fault. It should be that one though, because then we're all looking at it. That makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah, that one. Whatever.
Yes,
Look at that one. Hey,
the host.
We're on this 3D.
Big up.
What an awesome day. Yeah,
That was good.
That was amazing.